honestly, I like couldn't finish my pasta because I couldn't get the tapeworm out of my brain. Flaming religious patriarchy. Hey, what's up? My name's Alea. Welcome back to my channel, and welcome to part 2 of my summerween reading vlogs. Hello, Alea from the future here to help walk you through this vlog. I'm from the future, but technically I'm from the past when you're seeing this, but not as far past as the past me you just saw. Does that make sense? Anyways, so originally this vlog was supposed to be a summerween, like day 6 and 7 vlog, but I ended up wanting to continue it because I wanted to finish some more books, and then I saw this video from Books and Lala from last year, and it really inspired me to do summerween extended. And basically she came up with this whole idea of like doing a whole extra week of summerween as like a summerween extended thing, where she was going to try and read books that were like the most popular ones that other people read during summerween that year. And I loved that idea. So I was like, okay, I think I want to do that. And so I kind of pivoted and decided to take this vlog in that direction. And then it was supposed to come out like right after my other summerween vlogs, like way back, like end of July, early August. And then of course, my birthday hit, and then I wanted to do a birthday vlog, and then I bought a new phone, and I've been filming everything on my phone since then. And so all this vlog footage that I had was with my old camera. And so I was like, oh man, the footage isn't as good and the audio is not as good as what I'm doing now. And so I was worried that people weren't gonna like it, and I was really in my head about it. And then the Barbie movie came out, and so I put everything aside to edit my Barbie video. And then I've kind of just been sitting on this footage ever since then. And then I watched Jordaline from Jordaline Reads, and she was talking about how, you know, in terms of getting ready for fall, like you don't have to get ready if you just stay ready. And so then I was like, you know what? No, like I still want to do these summerween vlogs. And so I was like, okay, it's fine. I'll just read spooky books from summerween in July all the way through the end of October. And so I've been doing that. And so I have all of this footage of this like summerween stuff that I was originally gonna do, and I've been sitting on like 2 to 3 hours of raw vlog footage for like a couple of months. And I was like, shit, like I don't know what I'm gonna do with this. Like, is anybody gonna care about summerween extended now? Like, it's spooky season. But I was like, you know what, no, like I'm gonna do it, because whenever I ask you guys if I should put up a video that I'm like questioning, everybody always just says to do it. And so I was like, okay, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna make 2 summerween vlogs. I'm gonna split the footage into 2 different vlogs, and there's gonna be a summerween extended part 1 and a part 2. And I'm gonna put them up during spooky season with all my other like fall videos. And so that was my plan. So that's what we're doing. So this is part 1 of my summerween extended videos. I hope that's okay. I hope you guys like it. I really tried to like make it fun and spooky and a really good time. And so this footage isn't as good of quality as some of the stuff I've been recently putting out, but I hope that you still have a good time with it. So feel free to grab a blanket and a spooky drink and hang out with me and watch this vlog, because I had a really good time editing it, and I hope that you enjoy it. So without any further ado, let's get into the vlog. Peyton and I are getting ready to go to the lake, and I'm just gonna pack some books. I think I'm gonna try to read some more of either My Best Friend's Exorcism or The Last Housewife. I'm part of the way into both of these, and I really want to finish them in this vlog. So that's my goal. I'm gonna take these with me, and we're gonna pack some snacks and have a little picnic at the lake and hang out and get some sun, and it's gonna be a fun and fresh time. So I will see you at the lake. There's a lot of like slippery rocks, sticks and stuff like that. I did pick the rockiest spot to get in too. the little fly guy with the hat? This guy, yeah, who's that?
This is Skeeter.
Skeeter?
He's a mosquito.
He is. I never would have guessed. Who else you got? Who else is there?
This is Mr. Pee-Pee.
Okay, well, we don't want to see Mr. Pee-Pee. Who is this?
That's you.
That's not me. That's you, Beats.
This is the stinky cocaine rat. Smuggling drugs across the border.
From Mexico? Unclear. Maybe he's Canadian. Hard to say. Hi. It's our little friend, the king of the gophers. We've been having war with the gophers all day. They're trying to steal our snacks. Hello, sir. We definitely didn't go to Goodwill to get nothing. We went to drop off stuff, and then I definitely bought a bookshelf, and we can barely fit it in the Jeep. But it's fine. This is what happens when you take your girlfriend who likes books to Goodwill. Also, I bought 3 books too. So we're back from Goodwill, and I thought I'd show you what we got. So I got a little bookshelf. We gotta clean it up and put the shelves in and stuff. It's a little bit of a fixer-upper, but it's really cute. It was 20 bucks from Goodwill. I couldn't say no. Anyways, I definitely didn't intend to get a whole bookshelf and a bunch of stuff, but I did. So here we are. So here's a little Goodwill haul. So Peyton picked out this little monkey because he's super cute. He doesn't have a name yet, but he's like a beanie baby with very little beans. So he has like a little tummy. Anyways, he's really cute. And then I got some romance novels. So I got The Duke Goes Down by Sophie Jordan, and I'm really excited because Sophie Jordan is one of my favorite authors. So let me know if you've read this and if you thought it was good, because I'm really excited about it. And then I also found this other book that I didn't know absolutely nothing about. It's called Latte Darling by S.J. Tilley. I think it's a spicy book with like an age gap romance. I don't know. It looked fun, so I grabbed it. And then I also grabbed this other one that I think is like an older YA novel, and it's called Bad Girls with Perfect Faces. And it was giving cool vibes with the like lipstick and the flies on the cover. So anyways, that's kind of what I got going on. We got a little book haul, we got a little bookshelf, we got a little monkey moment. We love to see it. Peyton and I like went off at Goodwill and we never do that, but we got excited because Peyton made up this new holiday called Plate Day. Basically it's like the day in between both of our summer birthdays, and so we decided for Plate Day every year we're gonna like get a present for the house kind of. And so he got a new tripod, which you're currently staying on. I'll have to show you. It's really cool. It's orange and I'm kind of obsessed with it. And then we also got new plates. It just seemed fitting to like get new plates from Goodwill for Plate Day. So anyways, we got plates, we got a bookshelf, we got a monkey. We did some damage. So I'm gonna go clean the bookshelf off, and then later on tonight I'll give you a reading update on what I've been reading. Adios. Hello, I have a reading update for you. So I'm now 140 pages into The Last Housewife by Ashley Winstead, and this book is really dark. It's really starting to hit the fan. Right now, Shay is in New York, and she's basically following the path that her friend Laurel took, and she's starting to discover that Laurel was like getting involved with these, not BDSM, almost like culty clubs for rich people that are really into sexually abusing women, which is great. So anyways, Shay is like going down the rabbit hole, and she's starting to get into some situations that are really not good, and she's trying to figure out why Laurel was involved with these people, and she's getting the feeling that Laurel was like maybe seeking out this kind of stuff because of the things that they went through in college. And so we kind of have a dual timeline thing going on a little bit, where Shay is like talking about this case with Laurel and like investigating all these seedy underground groups that she was a part of, and also talking to her friend Jamie, who is the reporter journalist guy who runs the podcast, about her experience and things that she and her friends went through when they were in college, and specifically what happened with them and this guy Don, who was one of their roommates' dad. And he was really fucked up. So basically, you'll probably like this book if you're interested in reading about a guy who seems like a charming silver fox on the outside and is really interested in grooming young college girls who have daddy issues and manipulating them into being submissive, and then sexually abuses them, essentially. So if that's your cup of tea and you're interested in that, you're gonna love this. If you're like, that sounds really intense, then you might not like this book. I'm kind of surprised, honestly, that this is so like hyped on YouTube and on Instagram and everything, because this is a really dark book. And obviously there's like a list of trigger warnings in the front, but for sure, like, check out the trigger warnings if you want to read this book, because it's super, super dark. And yeah, like all of this stuff that it talks about right here, I'm 140 pages in and we've already hit every single one of those things on the list. So it's definitely messed up, and it's kind of hard to read because, you know, sometimes when you're a woman, you're like, man, you know what I don't need? Like 350 pages of disgusting men sexually abusing women and telling them that they are nothing. And it talks a lot in here about gender essentialism and this whole concept that Aristotle came up with about how like men have a role and women have a role, and men's role is to be like the leader and the creator or whatever, and the women's role is to be like the muse who's like really submissive and stuff like that. And so the men in here who are part of these like sex cults / underground seedy BDSM orgy groups are basically manipulating the women into thinking that like if they act in like a submissive manner, that is like a powerful thing, and they should like embrace that and let the men do whatever they want to them, essentially. And so the main big bad guy in here, Don, is like definitely doing that to these girls, just manipulating the shit out of them to the point where like he's getting them to do things that are hurtful to each other. Like they will like physically hurt each other if he tells them to, and they will also like harm themselves if he says to. Like at one point he tells Laurel, the woman who like later on gets killed, and the one who Shay is like investigating her death, he tells Laurel when she's a young college girl to stick her hand in a candle that's lit, and she does, and like burns her own hand just because like he told her to. So he really like is super manipulative, like cult leader energy, very creepy. So he's awful. But like all these other men who are in these other really seedy weird groups are also really awful. And our main character Shay is married, and her husband isn't like a part of this like sexually abusing women stuff, but he's also like really controlling, and he's like calling her all the time while she's trying to investigate what happened to Laurel, and she keeps like not answering his calls, and he's like obsessively texting her, and like granted he's like worried because she's not picking up the phone, but like he's not great either. So the only guy in here who's like even halfway decent is her friend Jamie that she's investigating things with, and I really hope that they end up together because I can tell that they have like a thing for each other. They were like childhood best friends, and it sounds like they kind of had a thing going on at one point, but like maybe that just never got explored because the girls were so busy being abused by this guy Don. Anyways, the whole can of worms. But there's a lot of things happening in here. It's really dark, it's hard to read, it's depressing, but it's also so well written, and there's some really good passages in here. I'm just gonna read you this one passage. Shay is talking to her friend Jamie and telling him about all this stuff that happened to her in college. And all the stuff that she saw, because she like snuck into this like sex cult ritual thing at this house, and she thinks that Laurel might have gone there and taken part in the rituals, and she was like watching, and she like snuck in through the window and was like watching from around the corner and saw this like really just gross sexual ritual and it was bad. And she is talking about it to Jamie afterwards, and she says, what if you're a woman and the world teaches you who you are and where your place is from the moment you're born, but all along it's a lie? What if the lie chains you every day? If you're not thinking straight any minute of your life, and even your defiance, even your pleasure is suspect, how does consent work then? What makes you want the things you want? Is it your choice, or were you molded? And that's a big discussion here too about like consent, because the women who are going to these underground clubs and these weird rituals and stuff are like consenting to doing the stuff that they're doing. But it's like, if these men are manipulating them and brainwashing them into thinking that like they should be submissive or whatever, like, is that really consent? Like, can you consent if you are like not in your right mind? And so Shay is kind of arguing like, you know, it's almost like being drunk, you know, like you can't give consent if you're drunk because you're not in your right mind enough to do that. It's like if you're being manipulated constantly, that's basically like a drug, right? So consent doesn't really count at that point. And anyways, it's really interesting. This book definitely explores like a really deep gray area, which I think is cool. But it's just really like super fucked up too. So anyways, I am a good chunk of the way in, and I really want to finish this soon. So that's kind of my plan. I also am thinking about maybe starting another book to like read in tandem with this that might be a little bit lighter, but I think I want to get into this more before I start anything else. So that's the plan. And I also really wanted to set up my new bookshelf tonight because I have a lot of books that I want to put on there and like organize and stuff. And so I thought I would show you that. So we're gonna go do that, and I will talk to you later. Hello, so I finished the bookshelf and I'm really super happy with how it turned out. So I thought I would give you a little bit of a bookshelf tour. Sorry if you can hear my downstairs neighbor. He's playing the ukulele, ? Anyways, let's not get into it. So this little shelf right here is a bunch of books that I started and have not finished. So I kind of decided that this whole bookshelf is going to be like a TBR shelf kind of. So it's either going to be books that I have like started already and need to finish, or books I want to read for videos, or books that I just really want to get to soon, because I've been like pulling books from my main bookshelf and just like stacking them all over the house for like, okay, like this pile is for this video and this other thing is for like a book haul or whatever, and it's getting out of hand. So that's kind of what this shelf is for. It's for organizing what's in my brain in like a physical space kind of. So anyway, so these are the books that I started and still need to finish, and then these books are for an upcoming video, and I didn't want to shelve them and get them all mixed up with everything else. And then here, let me move you a little bit down here. So these books are my summer TBR books that I haven't read yet, and then these ones are ones for themed reading vlogs that I really want to do soon. And I put everything kind of in like rainbow color order just so that it would be cute. And then I also have this little shelf up here, and these are my summerween TBR books. So these are the ones that I still need to finish from my regular summer TBR, summerween TBR, and then Garlic and the Vampire, which I finished in my last vlog, and then these two are for my Summerween extended TBR. So anyways, that's kind of a little tour of my little secret bookshelf. So basically, these are books, like, forget you saw them because they're going to be in like other videos and stuff, but I thought it would be kind of cool to like show you my organizational system that I'm coming up with, because it's really hard to like have a bookshelf that has a lot of books on it that you're filming in front of, and also like remember, okay, which books were for what video idea, and I don't want them to get mixed in with everything else and all that stuff. So anyways, I have this lovely little shelf now and I'm really excited. I think this is going to work out really well. I wasn't totally sure we got it from Goodwill because it was 20 bucks and a lot of the shelves are actually like kind of warped. And so Peyton went in and underneath the shelves where the little metal like pegs are, he added little plastic pieces because he has a lot of like random spare parts of stuff. So he took like plastic pieces of like old USBs and stuff like that, and he super glued them to the metal pegs so that it would even out all the shelves. So anyways, so you can't see it, but there's like little pieces of plastic glued under here and stuff. We kind of had to like MacGyver it together, but I think it turned out really cute and I'm really excited. So anyways, that's my fun little new bookshelf situation, and I'm gonna go read and I will update you when I've read something else.
Perfect.
Hello, so I have a reading update for you. I am now 220 pages into The Last Housewife by Ashley Winstead, and so far, I don't think this book is a thriller at all. I think it's arguably like a feminine rage novel, and it's definitely spooky and dark and creepy and horrible, but this doesn't feel like a thriller to me because most of this book is about women being abused. And to be honest, I think a thriller has to be thrilling, and this isn't thrilling. This is just a lot of like violence against women for like 380 pages. But it is super well written, and I think that the author is having a lot of interesting discussions in here. I just don't think that this is necessarily for me, or like the kind of thriller that I want to read. And I've heard so many people say so many good things about this book, and so I was a little bit confused about like what everybody else's thoughts were, and so I went on Goodreads to see if anybody else had like similar thoughts to what I've been having, and Gabby from Gabby Reads had a really good review on Goodreads about this book, and she gave it a 3.5, and I definitely feel like that's kind of where I'm sitting with this as well. Like, it's well written and I'm interested to see what happens, but this book is really disturbing and like dark and genuinely not fun or enjoyable to read. Like, it's one of those books where you're kind of like slogging through it and you can feel like every page going by, like you feel like you're reading a book, but at the same time, like, I want to know what's going to happen and I want to finish it because I own a copy and everything. So anyways, I think I'm going to try to power through this book, but it was kind of getting me like in not a great headspace because it talks so much about like these bad religious groups that have started these like underground sex cults and they're abusing women, and there's all these like prominent people who are involved in these groups, and it's just horrible. It's really terrible. It's like flaming religious patriarchy. I don't even know how to explain this book, but it's terrible. Not like terrible as in the book itself is terrible, like the subject matter is terrible to read about, and I don't like seeing these images in my brain. So I decided to read something that was a little bit lighter, just to take a little bit of a break from that. So I decided to get back into reading The Hollowpox by Jessica Townsend. So this is book 3 in the Nevermore series, and this is a middle grade like fantasy that has a lot of magical creatures and people with powers and that kind of thing. And I'm really getting into this. I picked it up again last night because I started it before Summerween and I didn't have time to finish it. So I was like, well, I'll just put it on the back burner. But when I picked this back up, I was on page 106 and now I'm on page 240. So I'm flying through this, having an amazing time, loving it. But I thought these might be good to read like in tandem because this one's a little bit lighter and more fun, and this one is like pretty dark and serious. But I figured this one could count for read a thriller, and then this one I was reading in the dark last night, so that takes care of that prompt. But anyways, back to this. So I am really like torn about my feelings about it because I want to love this book as much as everybody else does, but I feel like it's a little bit too dark and nasty for my personal taste. But I want to read you Gabby's review because I think it was really, really stellar. So anyways, Gabby was saying it was a 3.5 for her, and she said, it really makes me sad that I didn't enjoy this book as much as everyone else seems to. I wanted to love this book because In My Dreams I Hold a Knife was one of my favorite books of last year, but I think the reason I didn't enjoy this one as much is more of a me thing and not necessarily the book's fault. Lately I struggle to read books that are mostly entirely about violence against women, and this book was a lot. So many trigger warnings for tough things, and it was just a little too much for me, to be honest. I feel that 100%. Like, this is the kind of story that's really important, but it's also the kind of story where it's like, did we need to see so many scenes of women being physically abused, emotionally abused, manipulated, just scene after scene after scene, and it was just a lot. It's like more than I needed, more than the world needed, I think, to be honest, but that's just me personally. Anyways, and so Gabby went on to say, I recognize that this is a really well written and powerful and important story, but it wasn't a fun time to read, and a lot of it was hard to stomach. I really did enjoy the true crime podcast aspects of the story and the way this book boldly looks at religion and compares it to a cult. It was thought-provoking and intense, and I can see why a lot of people are loving it. It just wasn't my personal favorite. I agree with that 100%. All the stuff that they're talking about with religion and how these people have kind of like taken these ideas from the Bible and from famous philosophers and stuff and like morphed it into being like the reasoning behind these sex cults is really interesting. And just like the mindset that these women are in when they're in these environments and where they feel like, you know, like they can't leave and like they deserve to be abused and all these different things. It's really interesting. But also some of the women in this book who are being abused are like college kids. Like these girls are like 19, 20. Like they're very young and very naive, and it's horrible. It's horrible to read about. I am interested in reading this author's other books because I think this one is like the darkest one she's ever written. But I'm a little bit nervous about her new book now because if it's anything like this one, I don't know if I want to read that for like a long time, because like Gabby said, this book is really hard to stomach, and I don't think anybody's really talking about that. Everybody's like, oh, this is such a fun thriller, this is how you do a thriller right, this is so great. And I'm like, this doesn't feel like a thriller. Like, so far nothing has thrilled me in this book. Everything has been like, yeah, that checks out, you know. Like a lot of the reveals so far have been like, oh, this person is in the cult, oh, this person is involved, oh, these people are involved. And it's like, am I supposed to be surprised that these men who are like high up in these other groups in the community are involved in these cults? Like, shocker, you know what I mean? Shocker. It's like, I already live in society. I don't need constant reminders of nasty men. Like I'm aware, you know what I'm saying? So anyways, it feels like a little more than what was necessary, but whatever, to each their own, I suppose. But anyway, so that's kind of where I'm at. I just really needed to like take a break and read something lighter for a little bit. But my goal is to finish Hollowpox, finish The Last Housewife, and then try and finish My Best Friend's Exorcism by Grady Hendrix. Those are my 3 that I want to get finished in this vlog. And then we can move on to other things. So I will read some more, and then I'll probably update you when I'm like almost done with the book or have finished something. Until then, adios. Hello. So update, I finished The Hollowpox by Jessica Townsend, And all I have to say is that Jessica Townsend only writes bangers. I'm sorry, she really does. She's only written 3 books, and they're all in the same series, and they're all huge, and every single one of them is absolutely incredible. Like, I can't get over how good her books are. So I'm gonna give this 5 stars, and I think the more that I'm thinking about books 1 and 2, honestly, I think they're all 5 stars. Like, this is some of the best writing I've read all year. And I think this is a new favorite series of all time. I think this, Lockwood & Co., and I Hate Fairyland by Scotty Young are like my 3 favorite series now. And I just love her writing. It's beautiful, it's cozy, it's funny. The climactic action scenes are like actually really intense. Everybody in here has cool, interesting powers, and they like really care about each other. There's this great found family element in here, and I just love it. It's so great. I loved watching Morgan learn more about her powers, and there's also some like political stuff in here that's really cool, and we are kind of finding out that like the big bad guy of books 1 and 2 maybe is like a little bit more nuanced, and maybe he had some other things going on, and we're finding out that there's actually like another villain that might even be like scarier than the big bad guy from books 1 and 2. Like even he is scared of this new person, and so we're kind of exploring like what that means for the world of Nevermore, and it sounds like this villain is gonna like continue on through the other books, so we'll see what happens there. I'm really excited. However, it's a little bit bittersweet finishing this because I was reading this whole series in anticipation of book 4 coming out in September, but they just announced that book 4 got pushed back all the way to September of 2024. It's fine, everything is fine. I'm not chill about it, and I don't think I will be for a long time. But I'm not sure who I need to sell my soul to at the publishing house to get book 4, or like an arc of it or whatever, but like, name your price, sir. I will pay it. Like, I'm dying for book 4. It's gonna be so good. I'm really excited to see what happens with this series, but it sounds like book 4 has gotten pushed back like multiple times. Like, I think it was supposed to be out in fall of 2021, and it keeps getting pushed, and I heard that like the author had COVID and she was ill for a long time and stuff, so I don't know what's going on. And part of me is like, oh my god, Jessica, like, give us book 4, and part of me is like, no girl, you take your time, you take your sweet time, because every single book she writes is so good, and they're all like 400 to 500 pages. So I'm like, you know, it's fine, you can't rush perfection, go off. I know your next book's gonna be amazing. But I heard that this series is supposed to be like between 6 and 8 books potentially, so I'm kind of wondering if she wrote like 1 through 3 like it's a trilogy, and then it'll be like another 6, you know, whatever. If it's 6 books, maybe it'll be like another 3 and like another chunk that comes out. I don't know, we'll see. But this series is incredible, and if you haven't read it yet, then you should, because it's one of the best things I've ever read, maybe ever, and it's so fun, and I love it to death, quite frankly. So, one of my top books of the year right here, I think, honestly. So that's where I'm at, and I will update you probably when I've gotten like close to finishing something else. Bye. Good night. Hello, my sweet petunias. I have 2 things. Number 1, I have decided to officially soft DNF The Last Housewife by Ashley Winstead, because honestly, I have no desire to pick this book up again, and I read for enjoyment. And frankly, reading about young women being abused by religious cult leaders does not bring me joy. So I'm gonna DNF this, and I really wanted to finish it for this vlog, but honestly, I'm not gonna force myself to read a book I'm not enjoying just for a video. So yeah, this doesn't spark joy, so it's gotta go away. It's gotta go over there. And then number 2, I'm almost done with My Best Friend's Exorcism by Grady Hendrix, and I'm a little under 100 pages from the end. And I just wanted to inform you that I just read a scene in here where I don't even know how to explain this to you, frankly. I just read a scene where a 15-foot long tapeworm crawled out of a young woman's throat. You ever just have that happen to you? And after I read that scene, I went and tried to eat chicken Alfredo. And I would not recommend that you do that, because it's really not the vibe trying to eat pasta noodles after reading a tapeworm scene. Would not recommend to a friend. So honestly, I like couldn't finish my pasta because I couldn't get the tapeworm out of my brain. So that's where I'm at. I'm excited to finish this book. I'm going to finish it right now, and then I'm going to tell you what I think, and then we're going to wrap up this vlog. So that's the plan. Also, why didn't anybody tell me there's a tapeworm scene in this book? Like, I've watched so many reviews for this, and nobody mentioned that. I've been bamboozled. Hello? Seems like kind of key information. Just saying. I'm just saying. So, anyways, if you don't like reading about tapeworms crawling out of people's throat, then maybe don't read this book. Kind of came out of left field, but it was an intense scene. I kind of had to, like, sit and vegetate with that for a second. But I'm gonna finish this book, and I'm really excited to see what happens. There's a lot of crazy stuff in this book, but honestly, I thought it was gonna be a lot more of, like, people dying and stuff, and it's really not. It's more like, this girl Gretchen, who may or may not be possessed by a demon, is, like, influencing people to do bad things, and, like, sin, I guess you could say. But it's interesting, because so far, the people who she's influencing are not dying, and I'm sure that's going to change at the end of this book, but right now I'm like, okay, this is actually a lot more closely tied to, like, religion and sin and ideas in the 80s about, like, Satan worshippers and stuff like that, and there's talk about, like, drugs and LSD and, like, Southern values and the way that, like, all these rich Southern families put a lot of emphasis on perception and wealth, and they don't actually, like, really give a shit about their kids or pay attention to anything bad that's going on. Like, if something bad happens to somebody, you never hear about it in the news, and people just, like, push it under the rug. But if there's something, like, scandalous, then everybody knows about it. And it's just kind of an interesting dynamic in this community. So anyways, that's where I'm at, and I'm gonna go finish this, and I will talk to you when I'm done. Pray for me. Hello, so I'm back to wrap up this vlog, and I just finished My Best Friend's Exorcism by Grady Hendrix, and I think I'm going to give it a 4-star. I enjoyed it, but it didn't feel like a 5 for me, and I feel like if I was going to split this book into thirds, the first third was really good. It was really engaging, it was really interesting, there was a lot of creepy stuff going on, and then the middle third really dragged for me. I feel like there's a lot of stuff in there that could have been cut out, and the plot of the story would have been exactly the same. So there's a lot of stuff in there about the parents of these kids and how none of them believed Abby when she told them that something was wrong with Gretchen, and they were, like, calling the principal on her and trying to get her expelled and all this stupid shit. And Abby's family is poor, and so a lot of these other parents are really wealthy and they have a lot of sway with the school, and so there's a lot of drama in the middle third about that stuff, and that just wasn't really that interesting to me. I understand that, like, part of it was to set up the setting of this, like, southern town that's all about appearances and stuff, and it's kind of like an all fur coat, no knickers vibe, and I get that, but I just didn't really like that. It didn't really apply that much to the actual plot with Gretchen being possessed. And then the last third was really, really good. And there's a lot of action. There was a lot of creepy shit with Gretchen being possessed and doing weird shit to people. And it was wild. And I loved it. And I also really liked at the end that whole situation with like the tapeworm stuff. But there's also a scene at the end where something bad happens to one of the dogs in the story. So just be aware that going in that there is some like pretty serious violence against animals in here. And it does kind of like come at you out of nowhere, and it's pretty horrific, so just be aware of that. But I did really like this overall. And also towards the end, there's a weird chapter that's about the kids going on this field trip to a hospital. And there's some stuff about like dead babies, and it's really nasty for like no reason. And to be honest, I think that could have just been excluded entirely because it really didn't have anything to do with the plot of the book, and it was just really nasty. So yeah, could have done without the dead babies, could have done without the dog violence, to be honest. But I do think that the spooky stuff in here was good. I would have liked to see more spooky stuff. I thought there was going to be more like deaths and crazy shit, and there was some, but I would have liked more, to be honest. And that's kind of where I'm at with that. I also really liked the representation that we got with our main character, Abby, and her struggles with like having really severe acne. That was super relatable for me, like all of her discussions about trying to cover up her breakouts with makeup and how she doesn't let anybody except her best friend Gretchen see her without her face on. And there's a scene in here towards the end when Gretchen is like really like having some issues, and she and Abby are in the bathroom at school, and Gretchen tries to get Abby to like take her makeup off, and Abby at first is like, okay, she must just be kidding, and then she realizes that Gretchen is like actually serious. And that's when Abby kind of realizes that like Gretchen is not in her right mind because she would never do that to her. And they have this whole like brawl in the bathroom, and Abby basically like goes off and like kind of kicks Gretchen's ass over it, and it's a really good scene. So anyways, I enjoy this, but it definitely wasn't a 5 for me. So that's kind of my thoughts on that. So if you made it to the end of this vlog, leave me an owl emoji in the comments for my best friend's exorcism, and I will see you in another video very soon. Bye!